So Jon Stewart has this new TV show that he's doing for Apple, and everything I've seen so far has been phenomenal. I think, if anything, his time away from The Daily Show made him sharpen his ideology. So he's a much-needed addition to the discourse, focusing on serious issues. He spoke to Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, who's the former Fed chair as well. She's, incredibly powerful, needless to say. And man, he really holds her feet to the fire and schools her on the issue of bailouts and so-called free market capitalism.
I think the 2008 crisis is a great example. Instead of a big fire hose of money being turned on those mortgages that went underwater and brought them back to sea level, they chose to pour money into those bundles, and a lot of people lost their houses.
People had every reason to feel unhappy about what happened. The purpose of intervening so that big financial institutions and markets didn't completely fail was to avoid a drying up of credit in the economy. If those financial institutions had been allowed to fail, the toll on ordinary families would have been not only bad, which it was, but unspeakably horrendous. Mm-hmm. We would have been looking at something like the Great Depression.
I think for people, they would view it as, well, if I'm going to lose my house, that's a crisis, and I don't have a backstop.
That's an important reason why, when the pandemic struck, President Biden and his administration have been focused on using fiscal policy, not the Fed, mm-hmm. to get help to all those who really need it.
But corporate America gets all the benefits of American stability and fiscal policy, but bears none of the responsibility. I'll give you an example. Walmart. They make billions in profits. Their workers are one of the largest corporate users of social service programs. Why don't Walmart workers share in the profits of Walmart?
In a capitalist system, companies have a right to distribute profits to their shareholders. Mm-hmm. They're not forced to. There's nothing in the law that forces
aren't we
them
subsidizing?
To share their...
This is the insidious part, I think, of when we talk about that we have a free market system. Because what it makes it seem like is that the natural order of things is that Walmart makes billions in profits and can distribute it to its shareholders, and that's just how it goes. But we know that we, the taxpayers, are subsidizing their workforce with food stamps. They're getting the benefit of our tax dollars. So it's not free market.
Damn. You know what's funny? I think that when Janet Yellen accepted an interview with Jon Stewart, in her mind she thought, oh, he's one of us. He's on my team. And so he's not going to ask me tough questions. And he did exactly that. And he really, really unmasked the system here. So let me explain a little bit more about what he's referring to. In the case of Walmart, so they pay terrible wages. And what happens is, even full-time workers at Walmart, they don't make enough money to survive and pay their bills. They don't make a living wage. So somebody who works full-time at Walmart needs to make up the difference and get some more money elsewhere. Now, some people work a second job. Some people work a third job. But a lot of people who work full-time at a place like Walmart, they then turn to the government and they get food stamps, so the SNAP program, they get Medicaid, and they get the help of a number of different programs. Now, they need to use those programs in order to make up the difference and survive. However, Jon Stewart's point is, well, hold on now. If Walmart is making billions of dollars in profits and enriching their shareholders, why the hell do we not have the law make it so that Walmart must pay their employees sufficiently? They must pay them enough so they don't have to run to Medicaid and the SNAP program and other government programs in order to survive. So you could just make it so that they have to pay a living wage. You could just make it so that they have to have decent benefits. They have to offer health care. If you unionized Walmart, then workers would do much better off. But the thing is, you see what Janet Yellen is doing there. She's rationalizing for the broken system. She's explaining how, well, under our system, that's how it works, is they could set the wages as they want to set it. And, she refers to it as the free market. Well, no, an actual free marketplace would be there is no effective corporate welfare subsidy for Walmart. Why are we always subsidizing big business? Why are we always giving big business a corporate welfare check? Because in a free marketplace, it's like, okay, if you fail, you fail. If you make it, you make it. We're setting it up so they can't fail. They're always getting corporate welfare checks. ExxonMobil, they get taxpayer subsidies every year when they're one of the most profitable industries in the world. Why are we giving them taxpayer money? We are subsidizing them to do research and development. That's the rationalization. That's how it goes. They could do their own fucking research and development. They make billions of dollars. To the point on bailouts. So, he says that why is it that in the 2008 crash, the subprime mortgage crisis and the Great Recession, the government rushed in, the federal government, to bail out big business after we let one or two fail? Was it Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns or something like that? The federal government rushed in and they saved the day effectively. They bailed out Wall Street. They bailed out these companies. Now, in an actual free marketplace, the companies would just fail. Sink or swim. You make it, you don't, you're on your own. That's a free marketplace. It's not free market for taxpayers to rush in and socialize the losses. And then Wall Street privatizes the profits. When they make profits, only they indulge in those profits. And when they lose money, the taxpayers rush in and save them. It's a rigged game. It's a rigged game. And Stewart's point is, you could have, if you wanted to, addressed the crisis the other way. So instead of doing a top-down bailout, you do a bottom-up bailout. You could go in there and say, hey, we know you're behind on your mortgage, and we know this was a predatory ballooning interest rate mortgage, but what we're going to do is the government is going to make you, good on your mortgage. So you're going to bail out somebody at the bottom, and then we're also going to renegotiate the mortgage for you so that instead of having a ballooning rate mortgage that you'll never be able to pay because they're basically a scam, we're going to do a 30-year fixed rate mortgage or whatever. You have 27 years left on your mortgage. We'll do 27 years will be left, and we'll do a fixed rate mortgage that you can afford. You could have done a bottom-up bailout. You could have done it. They chose not to do it. Why did they choose not to do it? Because of the influence of big money on our politicians. Corporations and billionaires give money to the politicians, and so the politicians serve them before they serve any of their constituents and regular schmegular Americans. So that's why we have the system that we have. And what you get is a disgustingly corrupt outcome. You get a situation where we had a housing crisis and the government rushed in and gave a blank check to Wall Street, and then the same companies that made these terrible decisions and effectively bankrupted themselves, they get bonuses. The executives at these companies get bonuses when they were the biggest failures in the world. And then they have the nerve to turn around and say, the reason we had to pay a bonus to this executive was to retain the talent. What talent? What talent? They destroyed the company. They needed taxpayers to save them. So, by the way, I'm not saying free market capitalism is not the answer. Okay, because even under a free market system, yes, it's a dog-eat-dog world. If you make it, you make it. If you don't, you don't. But what we have is a system of corporatism or corporate socialism where you bail out the bad actors at the top no matter what. So no matter what, the people at the top win, and no matter what, the people at the bottom lose. But the answer is neither one of those systems. It's not a free market system, which creates far too many losers, and not because they didn't work hard enough, for example. And you don't want a corporate socialist system because that's what we live in now, and that system, really picks the winners and losers and keeps, an overclass of elites that can't lose no matter what. I mean, the real answer is, and you guys know this because you've watched this show for a long time, probably most of you, but you either need to set up a social democratic type system, more like a Norwegian system or Swedish system, which is a good hybrid of both capitalism and socialism, and it's highly regulated, and it's a welfare state, and people get their bare minimums needs met, or you need to evolve beyond to something even more idealistic, like a libertarian socialist type system. Have a system with, way more worker-owned co-ops, incentivize worker-owned co-ops, have a more democratic economy. Because it is hilarious how in the United States we sing the virtues of democracy, but it's very narrow and very limited because people only talk about it in the context of politics, political democracy, and not even direct democracy or representative democracy. Political democracy is good. Economic democracy, oh my God, no, that's terrible. Don't ever do that. Why? It's the same principles. It's the exact same principles, whether it's for politics or whether it's for the economy. So if it's okay in one area, it's probably going to be decent in the other area as well. But, that's never really brought up or discussed in any serious sense, again, because of the influence of big money and because of the lack of education on this issue. But, he really schooled Janet Yellen there. There's no free market. This is not a free market. It's a totally rigged system. And the people at the top always end up winning, whether it's billionaires or giant corporations. Again, Medicaid and food stamp recipients. People work full-time at McDonald's. People work full-time at Walmart. There was a government accountability office report that came out recently in, what year was it? 2019? Oh, 2020. And it said exactly what Jon Stewart is pointing out here, that we subsidize these companies. We give them a corporate welfare check, then they privatize the profits. And then if there's a crash, we socialize the losses. So no matter what they win, no matter what the elites get away with it, and working people get screwed time and time again. So Janet Yellen probably made a little whoopsie agreeing to that interview because Jon Stewart really unmasked her and exposed the entire system for what it is. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.